Welcome home, gamer, and welcome back for a special co-cast with Rooster. I had a problem
Hey,
with...
isn't it like super early for you?
It's only 4:45 in the morning, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, start your sledgehammers. Let's get this tournament started. Where do you think we want to go here, Rooster?
I mean, I think we have either the Dillo game versus Riv or the Dzemp game versus Yakimaru. I
All
think
right.
would be interesting to watch.
You want to take Dillo and RivRuskende? That works. We'll do River and ArmaDillo and RivRuskende.
Yeah, I was I was going for Dillo, I think,
All right.
because I know that he likes to play some aggro, and
All right. I'm in
I
that one.
think that might be an interesting one. Hey, Gutsa, nice to see you.
Okay. Yakimaru's in
From
my chat
what I
says,
know.
bruh, I got Dzemp. WTF.
Yeah, well, that's the bane of being in the mid section of the group.
Right.
I think I still don't fully understand how the pairing works
Oh,
because
I can
last
explain
week.
that one. The pairings are the top half of each group in round one pairs top versus bottom, second versus second bottom, third versus third bottom.
Yeah.
The bottom half
Yeah.
pairs
Okay.
adjacent. So, in this
Okay.
group, it'll be 45 and 46 are next to each other, 47, 48. From
Mhm.
then on, the lowest, or the group with the most losses pairs adjacent, and every other pairing is side by side, is top bottom. So the
All right.
unbeatens are top bottom, the
Yeah.
3-1s are top bottom, and then the lowers are. All right.
Has that always been the case?
That has always been the case, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, looking here at the packs, well, very fast giant spec pickup from Dillo. Steel Ball Crawler makes sense for his aggressive playstyle. For Riv, I think Rhino spec here looks good defensively. Marksman spec is doable as well, but like I don't like the starts without chaff. So Riv here actually deciding to go for something completely different, opting to go for Fortified Spec, which does give him a good slab of hit points, and honestly, Sledgehammer Arclight, about as good as he could wish for against something like Steelball Crawler. Arclight's good to deal with those triple crawler packs, and Sledges will be good if he decides to put them vertically to stop the steel balls in their tracks. ArmaDillo here looking to set up a symmetrical aggro push with the arc lights in front of the towers, trying to clear the chaff because Riv is only able to buy 2 chaff units if he wants to, and steel balls slightly off to the side. Riv deciding to go for marksman though.
I like that from Riv to go for marksman with so much, just to make sure he's got something that can handle the steel balls. He's got the chaff clear already, and he did put the sledges vertically, so I think this is about as best as he could hope to do, formation-wise. See if it's enough.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. I guess he realizes that he might not have enough DPS without the marksman, and it does seem to be working out for him here. So
great call.
Pretty nice choice. It does mean that Dillo knows pretty much what will be coming around 2 and 3 because chaff will be needed. So I'm expecting Riv to invest in additional deployments here to get the chaff down as soon as possible.
You don't think he's going to run an entirely chaffless game?
Oh. I mean, I would like to see it. I would like to see him try, but
redeploy is so strong for the attacker. With the ability to throw, perfect. They both took it. I'm glad Riv was cagey to that one, because obviously the attacker can use it to throw things all over the board to reposition things. It's like having a jump drive for every round. And River is going to need to be able to answer that sort of thing so he doesn't get completely overwhelmed on one side or the other.
Yeah, and we see immediately here another aggressive play that we've seen a lot the past month with the Wasps coming out. Do realize that he has jump drive available, so we'll probably see that darting around the board, trying to get some early debuffs between round 2 and 4. Riv does pick up 2 Fangs here. I'm not too big of a fan of the horizontal white positioning here. Main reason being that this might let the crawlers split that are on the outsides of the board, and that might make it way more difficult for the arc lights and sledges to like efficiently clear the chaff. It would be much nicer if he would be able to funnel the units this early on in the game when he's still low on deployments and his units can't be focusing on 2 or 3 sides at once.
And he hasn't put them behind the tower in a way that is going to protect against this wasp flank from Dillo. Right, that wasp flank is going to be able to get straight in on tower unopposed. Where the different positioning of them might have drawn at least some of them down towards the wasp flank and bought some time.
Yeah, and so here you can see what I'm getting to, where the sledges are, or the steel balls, Dillo, are actually going for those fangs instead of the sledges. You can imagine that if something like a Wraith gets added, that will make it much, much easier to actually go on the outside of the tower and just completely go past the sledges.
That's going to be one of the key elements if you're a mid-level player looking to really improve your game. One of the things that you want to adjust to is using your own units to control the movement of your enemy. Is once they've deployed, there's nothing they can do, right? They're going to follow their own AI. You kind of learn to funnel units with where your chaff is, with where your main units are.
Yep. And reinforcements on round 3. Dillo instantly going for the sandworm here. Would have enjoyed seeing some triple rhino action, but sandworm is pretty cool as well.
So,
now for Riv,
I'm thinking, is this going to turn into Worm Wasp Wraith? Do you think?
I don't think so, especially because Dillo already clicked jump drive now. It makes it so much more expensive to get into stuff like range and ground specialization.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be a bit of an aggressive worm wasp game, but I don't think he'll be buying many more wasps.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Triple Rhino coming out here for Riv. They are very good flank defenders, so I like it for that reason. Mustang purchased as well, very respectful of the wasps, and this is why we've seen this being played so much. It often requires a response, but there aren't many cost-effective responses to wasps, apart from stuff like Mustang, and Mustang tends to struggle into some of the other units that you might see in aggro pushes.
And especially against, that's part of what the Worm Wraith Wasp build does, is the Worm and the Wraith completely counter the Mustangs and keep them off of the Wasps. Jump drive on the Wasps is a little bit interesting when he had the redeploy, because it's going to give them an extra 5 movement speed. It means they're going to get out ahead of the Wasp a little more, or the Worm a little bit more easily. So I'd have liked to see him actually not take jump drive and just redeploy in the normal way, in the redeploy item way.
Worm here does get in, but left side, very convincing win for Dillo.
For River.
For River, sorry.
Yep.
And interestingly, while the Rhinos aren't that good versus those starting steel balls, they are pretty good into worms.
Yeah, level 2 Rhino 1-for-1's a level 1 worm, which is an interesting thing to know as a player. If you can stop that worm push from gaining a whole bunch of levels, it's leveled worms that tend to get oppressive. ArmaDillo, a quick skip. I don't think any
nothing
of these
too interesting
are right
here.
for River.
I don't think so. I mean, there's maybe some interesting plays to be had with stuff like extended range Phoenix. If he runs charge shot, kind of allows you to just run charge shot only, and you will still be sitting at almost normal Phoenix range, but with much more damage.
Right.
But I mean, that's a little bit out there in terms of an out of the box play. I think a skip here is most likely.
He's really taking a lot of time thinking about it, though.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Dillo already putting that redeployment to good use, trying to go for the other tower now.
Yeah, so
we also see that the shallow flanks that have been put there by Dillo, what those are doing is that they're pulling those units that are on the outside of the turrets towards the sides, towards the arc lights, and this opens up diagonals in the middle way more. So he's trying to pull away the units away from the towers and creating as many openings as possible to get those debuffs. Riv opting in for mass-produced sledge, so willingly debuffing the sledges that he started with to be able to put more sledges down and slow down the advance. Perhaps also realizing that Dillo is trying to pull everything apart, so using those low-cost sledges to slow the advance wherever it may be coming from.
Right. And it turns out to have been pretty solid for shielding the Mustangs from Arclight and Crawler on the outside. Of course, Worm and Wasp are going to get a tower again, and that's going to let things clean up. These left side steel balls are now level 2, and the left side is going pretty poorly for River.
Yeah, and this is where you can see like how annoying these Wasps are, because River, realizing that they were causing some trouble, wants to get the Mustang range, because without it, they don't have that much of an advantage, especially into leveled Wasps. But ranged Mustangs don't do all that much into things like steel balls and worms.
Right. And that's the first time Dillo has won a round. Drops RivRuskende down to 4360. Dillo's at 3301. We get into round 5. Quick photon coating for ArmaDillo. That's going to go straight onto the worm. It's the only way to apply photon to a worm.
Sadly, it is, yes. I was looking at those techs, but he goes for the armor straight away. I was wondering if maybe he would run something like a replicate sudden strike build, but he doesn't run sudden strike.
Does have replicate though.
Yeah, it does have replicate.
And really using the redeploy and the jump drive together right now to just reposition these two units and not necessarily anything else. Just these two to have whatever angle he wants on whichever tower he wants to go get.
And while this is so much fun to play on aggro, it can be so annoying to deal with for the defender, because you know that something's coming from some angle, but you also know that you don't have the resources to properly defend everything, so you just have to take guesses.
Right. Now, I like this from River. Instead of just sitting back passively, he's dropped a Overlord on the flank with no jump drive. So this is either committed or, a one-round feint, and it's not going to get there fast enough with the summoning sickness this round.
And this tends to be the problem when you're trying to make these aggressive plays as a defender. You need to weigh whether or not your opponent will be getting to your tower quicker, and whether or not you have the time for your units to, 1, spawn in, and 2, make the journey over from the flank to the tower.
By the way, that is one of the things that is beneficial about the Farseer. It's got that 125 meter range, and it's very quick. So it's actually a really awesome unprotected flank unit in the way that, similar to the way that a Phoenix is.
Now, while the flank might have not been fast enough, all air units have been killed, so both players training 400 hit points here.
Farseer and Typhoon are up. Dillo takes the Farseer for the aggro push. It's also going to be really solid for him against the Overlords. The Farseer shoots both air and ground, and of course you can put it in a flank coverage position and have it catch up to the fight, because it has those long ranges. He's going to hit it straight in front of the level 2 steel balls on the left. It'll stop and shoot early.
Yeah, and he doesn't run Photon. That's what I was looking at, but...
Yeah, he took Photon off for the cheap EMP. This is, I think, the build that I've caught going at the moment as well. With range, the search radar, EMP and Missile Interceptor. I've been finding their Missile Interceptor very effective. I'm kind of liking it.
Yeah, I'm not too disappointed with it either. I've had games where they actually do seem to make a big impact.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix is coming out now for Dillo. Doesn't want to end up in a situation again where he has no anti-air, but that's a lot of boats. Flank boat has been sold, but 2 additional ones purchased.
Redeployed. Got redeployed, back to the main
redeployed.
front using the redeployment item. Not item, but...
and Overload Artillery also clicked.
Ooh. Right. Chin gun. And the Typhoons are out in flank screening and outside positioning, as well as one up the middle to handle the worm, and that has just deleted the wasps while the worm was underground. That middle push
worm
is
also taken care
convincingly
of.
shut down.
And I think now what we're starting to see is that Dillo doesn't have that much chaff clear on his board. He was kind of brute forcing his way through the field, mainly by getting those tower debuffs. But his board doesn't have much chaff clear. I mean, it's a couple arc lights with range. It's a Farseer. And I mean, the other units are, well, they can try and chaff clear, but they're not necessarily made for it.
Dillo taking the storm, putting it central. Dzemp has beaten Yakamaru in other action. Yakamaru reports it was a fun game. River again taking plenty of time thinking about it, which I really do like. I highly recommend if you've got the APM to make your round 7, round 8, round 9 choices quickly, and you kind of knew what you wanted to do. Taking your time on the reinforcement, whether it's a unit or a spell or the choice like this, is really a wise decision, wise use of time to do the strategic thinking. He does take the spell, puts it on what is currently his weaker side. Dillo taking the barrier. New barrier is 500. That was with a balance patch from yesterday. It costs 500 now, but it's back up to 40,000 hit points per level.
And I think that Dillo here may have found yet another good opening.
There is that little angle right through.
Yeah, it's always the diagonals. Like, whenever you're playing against someone who's pushing, it's the diagonals you have to worry about.
Yep. That is...
Worm is going to be getting in.
Right, that is... Cutting off that diagonal is what that initial horizontal fang deploy that Ripper had was for, right? It was right there to cut off that diagonal, but that fang pack went down so quickly to all these arc lights.
Yep.
And Dillo wins round 7. Dillo's sitting on 880 hit points, River and down to 3160. But it still looks very solid for the defender here.
And we get the third pack of free units as early as possible on round 8. Triple Sabertooth here for Riv.
And
Instantly
Dillo.
clicking that super cheap double shot.
Yes.
And that should do bits against those fortresses, against the shields, against the sandworm.
Against the worm, indeed. I think that's what Ripper is hoping for. Please stop hitting my diagonals, and look where he's got them, just cutting off those diagonals that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Wasp.
Ooh, and I like this as well.
Wasp production, a wasp just buys one wasp to throw shield on them. So
that's brutal, especially considering the lack of AA from Dillo was only relying on those ranged phoenixes and the Farseer. That looks like the correct gut shot.
yeah, there is just no answer to it right now. The Farseer is it. Dillo takes the Loose formation, of course, with this 0902 patch. Loose formation now costs 400. Such a strong technology. It's so good. You'll see how much these guys spread. And I was up against a 1900 player the other day who ran just... It looked like the entire board was bugs. Just crawling with them. It was horrifying. Like, so many crawlers in the spread formation, and they just came. I had nothing, man. It was horrible. But of course, Dillo has nothing for the anti-air here.
Yeah, is able to get in, but River even had a cheeky flank coming in with some shielded wasps on the left. Those were delaying the phoenixes, so they were unable to help out during the debuff.
Right. And that is a very clean win for RivRuskende. Nicely done, Dillo. Of course, a very difficult opponent. And
that's
Dillo,
a big upset.
That is a huge upset. Great choice on the first round match.
Yep.
2200 MMR for Dillo, 1750 for River. Congrats, River. That is a huge win for you, sir. Very nicely done. Is there anything, if we're looking at this board, that you would have liked to have seen Dillo do differently?
I mean, probably... I feel like you have to respect, like, overlords even more. Dillo says sell the balls. Yeah. Selling the balls also probably something.
I mean,
if you look at the...
that level 1
one
pack
of them
did 12
all right.
hit points this last round.
Yeah. Yeah. It's struggling. But yeah, I feel like whenever the overlords start coming out, people rarely only buy like one of them. People like to buy 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as that happens and they run Mothership, you just need to be ready to answer that. So I'm not sure about the fortresses either. The fortresses were a decent response against the sledges, and I guess they're good into typhoons as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just sitting targets for the overlords with chin guns. And it's so expensive to go for the new like nerfed barrier tech that would probably be money you could try and put into anti-air.
Right. The thing I was noticing about them also is they're so much slower than the whole rest of the push. Right? We've got Farseer, we've got Worm, we've got Steel Ball, we had Wasps, and then the forts are just kind of outpaced by everything. And they do catch up, but they're just kind of not part of this comp. I love a good fort push, but that was one that stood out to me. And then the other thing was what you had called out earlier, that he just does not have the chaff clear. And for folks at home that are thinking about learning aggro and all you've done is standard, there's a reason why the canonical fast push is Crawler, Steel Ball, and Mustang, and that's because they all have the same speed, right? And those give you 3 different things. They give you the chaff, they give you the ground single target, and they give you a chaff clear option in the Stangs. And then that is what's kind of stands out as missing to me on Dillo's board. Not saying that he should have gone Mustangs, but it would have, in this last round, it would have helped a lot against the Mothership Wasps.
Yeah. Dillo says shield was for the storm spell. I get it, but at the same time, there isn't that much that you're protecting against storm. Like, the fortresses don't care about storm. They'll get slowed, but they won't really die to it. Neither does the worm. The Farseer is probably fine as well because it has 40k hit points. Like, the main thing you're losing is your phoenixes, which you can't shield either way. And, well, they might kill some crawlers, I guess. I don't think it's worth investing that much just to counter a spell. Probably better to just say, well, I think my spell is more effective because you have more air units, and like trade it.
Around the league, we have another big upset where Asmodeus beat Shiroha.
Oh, oh yeah, wow. That's a huge scalp to take.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Wow. And that's, I mean, we were saying like this journey isn't the most stacked, just purely looking at like, let's say 2100 plus MMR players.
Right.
And already losing 2 in the first round. That's massive.
Right.
We basically only have Dzemp, Sacco, Master.
The Galaxy
Song's End.
Yep.
Tongdil and Napping.
Yeah, and Illuminati beat Eva Stigma. Around the rest of the game, do you want to jump into Go Dog and Yes Win Big? I'll give you the rundown here. Green Spirit.
I can't. Game's already over.
Game's over? Okay. So, Green Spirit, Flix, Unrivaled Super Hottie all getting wins. Here we have Stupid Vegetables gets the win. Cursed over Hoiberg. Xanatos had a Miasim didn't even ready up. Oh no. Lord Kleinkariat wins. Another fake person wins when Pubeppo didn't ready up. DRN lost to what is this one? Sod? Or no, to Red Sunset. So Red Sunset with the win there. The Sakura wins. Or no, B-Man wins against Sakura. B-Man's official name is B Station Shark Rookie. Bearlike is here. Bearlike gets a win. Tungdil Zistibus upsets. Wait, what?
Wait, that's
Zistibus upset Blue Hair. Oh my goodness.
What is going on this tourney?
Wow, that is huge. And
I didn't even see them, but wait, what's a...
And of course, Master and Sacco both won. Round is over.
Is mad.
That is mad, yes.
Cast also losing.
Cast lost. Where is that?
Yeah, I mean he's number 56,
Okay,
but
so he's down a ways. Yep, lost to insert here. Yikes.
very close game too. 98 hit points. Wow. Okay. Well, some unexpected turn of events here, which always does tend to happen in at least one match, but.
3 big
We've
upsets.
gotten more than is the usual.
And Easy Beans points out that Bearlike's opponent was Baller. Oh dear.
Yeah.
And his opponent Baller playing under the name Long Live the People's Republic of China today.
Oh wow.
Oh dear. Baller,
dear,
baller,
indeed.
baller.
I mean, Bearlike has been stepping up his game a lot over the past week. I mean, he was talking about how he was a little bit afraid of the Dev versus Pro tourney and wanted to put in more effort in advance of that.
Right.
And that's when he almost won the
European last week.
Weekend, or the European. Yeah, the European weekend against Woot.
Yep. He came very close. And refused to take EMP on his Farseers. It hurt.
Oh, I see. B-Man also entered the tourney.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to follow a B-Man match?
Yeah, we could try. B-Man against Fifthwiel.
Right. Let's give that one a shot. All right. Welcome to round 2 of Weekend Tournament Asia number 70.
Looking at the packs, Marksman spec here, very, very strong. And B-Man does pick it up.
Wow. You're like, Marksman spec is B-Man clicks.
I mean, it's just such a solid start, especially if you want to play standard. The pack did get double nerfed. So Crawler Storm got nerfed in terms of starting hit points, and Marksman spec also got hit. But probably rightfully so. It is a very, very powerful opener when both you and your opponent decide to play standard. Fifthwiel going for the Fang Sledgehammer pack. This is a pack that actually has been buffed. And starting with the quick supply. Now going for 2 arc lights here.
makes sense into triple, triple crawler, right? That's what he's looking at. That's why he's thinking that, I'm sure. But now he's got 3 slow units coming in under the storm callers. It's gonna hurt.
Another option would have been to go for something like double crawler,
right?
And just match the chaff. Especially being quick supply. I mean, the arc lights have been buffed, and so they might be better chaff clear options. But you could also try and stall a little bit and try and go for something like the more expensive Vulcan and use your money in that way.
Right, you could even throw down a round 2 Vulcan, although you'd be giving up a deploy.
And Stormcallers tend to win these type of matchups. Stormcaller with a either Fang start or Crawler start, and then buying the other chaff unit on your round 1 tends to win almost all matchups.
They have one on the
only
right.
Thing
they lost on the left.
Yeah.
How much of your Stormcaller pilot's been drinking?
Well, a little, but enough to take the first round still.
So Fifthwiel on 4200, B-Man's at 3900.
And a bunch of good items showing up here. Nano Repair, yeah, it's almost an insta pick this early on, because you just know that something big is going to show up at some point during the game. Whether it is because you bought it or because free units offered it to you. And that regen can be so obnoxious to deal with.
You can always put it on something as a placeholder for a little while too. Get whatever your biggest unit is for a short-term benefit.
And so we see a big difference here, where B-Man seems to be playing more for a mid to late game and trying to outscale, having some good scaling units with the marksman, with the stormcallers, having a solid setup. Fifthwiel goes for a more aggressive approach, going for another sledge, going for that underground threat, foregoing the items like nano repair and improved fire control, which would be much better as the game goes on.
I think there's actually a pretty good logic to that with B-Man starting on just 3,900 hit points. If we can get some tempo. We know he's marksman specialist. We know he's set up for a long-term build here.
Yep.
If we can take Orange Man experience and feed that into units we want to level, which we've done, that is going to be valuable.
For sure. And this actually does manage to push in on the side of the Orange Man, get some EXP on those sledges, and potentially grab a level. And that level would be rather important, because right now, the level 3 marksman just one-shots the level 1 sledges. But give them a level, and suddenly the marksman needs 2 shots.
Fifthwiel picks up Fire Badger so quickly, the art hasn't even animated in on my screen.
Well, there is a saying, and it goes along the lines of Sea Badger, Pick Badger.
It is very good.
And both players adhering to it. And with the amount of sledges and fire badgers, just like tanks essentially, something like a Scorpion would do pretty well for B-Man.
Right.
But we'll have to see if that's something he wants to invest into, because right now he's also buying marksman, and they should be able to beat them, but it all depends on who gets the levels.
Yeah, they need to get some levels to scale.
Yeah.
I was so excited on the beta branch when I saw the Sabertooth and the Fire Badger for the first time. I was like, oh, it's going to make sledges so great. It has not made sledges great. They are just good on their own.
Yeah.
But I was absolutely imagining this kind of comp where the Fifthwiel is running. It's being... In my head, it was going to be meta-defining.
Marksman goes down again, so feeding some more EXP towards those sledges. The blue ones are almost going to level again.
The outside ones are going to be level 2.
Yeah, and same thing on the right side. Even though it's weak side for Fifthwiel, does manage to get enough EXP on that to grab a level.
And he's dropped B-Man to 2,900 hit points. Fifthwiel still at 4,200. No unit drop this time. Both players skip. Just opting for the 50. So satisfying to have that upgrade all button, isn't it? Fifthwiel upgrading 3 tanks simultaneously.
I feel like it does make me think a little bit more about where I want my money to go, because it's very easy to see, oh, upgrade all, click it, and then realize that you have no money left.
Right. Yeah.
Where before you would like start upgrading and then you'd have a quick look at your resources and be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't upgrade everything.
Right. It's a little easy to throw money away.
Speaking of upgrades, though, those sledges did in fact get enough of a level to become level 3. The other packs also giving the resources to level up. And we see Scorpions indeed coming out for B-Man. I mean, if a board screams Scorpion, this is probably the one.
You're wondering how to protect your sledge line from a Scorpion push like this. It would be much more late arriving chaff. You can get the Scorpion to pull on crawlers for a long time. You have to be willing to invest in the chaff. And of course Fifthwiel has not done that. B-Man sees it. So Scorpion's a very good choice. Still going to lose on the side where the sledges have hyper leveled, and to win on the other side pretty convincingly.
And I wonder if Fifthwiel is going to be picking something like range to keep the sledges safer.
And that's just going to expose the Badgers worse, right? But
yeah, but I think at this point the sledges are more important.
Yeah, for sure. The real answer there, I think, would be a triple chaff deploy. I'm not sure if he sees it. B-Man picks up the Farseer quickly.
Yeah, Steel Balls really wouldn't be a pick here for Fifthwiel because of the already existing Scorpions.
Right.
And the other units.
Yeah, he takes the Farseer as well. I think that's a good choice for him. He's put them too far forward. They're going to run out in front and get shot by the Scorpions. If you're not fully familiar with how to play Farseer, it moves at 16 meters per second, so you want to treat it like your Mustangs. Whatever your formation is, the Farseer positioning should be about where you've had your Mustangs, because it's going to have a 125 meter range. Your ranged Mustangs are at 135 meters. So like, just for getting yourself comfortable with the unit, that's the spot. Wherever your Mustangs are, that's where your Farseer belonged. If you're already running with some Mustangs, it'll go right in next to them. And they'll arrive together and engage together.
Going for a very interesting purchase there, opting to go for instant level 2 Stormcallers.
Alright, so he's going to drop those on top of the Scorpions. He's looking at his overall DPS with the nano repair on that one Scorpion that he knows about. The other Scorpion having gotten to level 2. You can kind of see it. With some DPS up the middle. He did not range the sledges or add the chaff that is needed. And with B-Man adding another Scorpion, the left side's going to go very poorly this time, I think.
Yeah. This is looking very problematic considering the round 5 lone here by Fifthwiel and this many units surviving for B-Man.
Yeah, I think his instincts about where the match is turning were right in terms of taking the lone, but not able to leverage the lone into making the match turn in his favor, and still not seeing that Chaff is the answer for himself. Like, it's a great choice to go to the Stormcallers. Now they're storms with range. That's still not solving the actual underlying problem here. B-Man does not have great shaft clear. All he has is the 3 Fire Badgers, right? I guess the Farseers work as shaft clear as well.
Yeah, and depending on the amount of clumping, Scorpions aren't the worst either.
They're not great, but you're not wrong that they can clear some chaff.
Yeah, it's more like they're okay supportive chaff. Like if you have a board of mediocre chaff clear units,
I mean, I think
together they might be just about enough.
I think of Scorpions as the unit I'm trying to distract with the chaff.
Yeah.
So I don't care if they clear a fair chunk of them in a single shot. As long as I have them not shooting my key carry unit, whatever that is. Of course, in this instance, it's the sledge.
Yeah, I think what would have
Go ahead.
What would have helped here is something like going more crawlers, going perhaps even for something like loose formation, and grabbing range on those sledges, because he was too much investment in the leveled sledges to give up on them.
Right.
So I would have rather seen him try to make them work.
Right. I very much agree with that. He did add 1 pack of crawlers, maybe 2. Just 1, I think. Behind tower on the left. Last round. No, it is 2. 1 behind tower on the right. And took the far right one, and that's probably why that round went better for him. I could see that this middle Scorpion was distracted for quite a while. In a way that it hadn't been. It'll be triple elite recruited storms. So Fifthwiel doubling down on the storms right now. Takes temp range. Me-Man just took the advanced aiming system. He's confident enough in his position to invest the 400 in additional range for all units.
And also going for the radar on the Farseer.
It's beautiful. Gonna have 95 meter Fire Badgers without ever actually having teched range on them. Of course, he has temp range from tower.
Yeah, and I think a lot of like kind of desperation plays are coming out for Fifthwiel. Also, triple, where there wasn't that much of a threat. I mean, perhaps scared of the sticky oil bomb, but
yeah, I can see the oil having been devastating for him. He has gone for the Holy Stormcaller, and it's gotten kind of close, but I don't think it's going to be enough to save him.
Stormcallers are good into stuff like Scorpions, but it's a bit of a mismatch with the rest of his army that was left unranged. There's such a big disparity between the 235 meter range Stormcallers and the, what is it?
95
I think maybe 100
for the sledge. He never ranged them. So Fifthwiel, obviously, you know, round 2 of tournaments matches up some pretty lopsided matchups because of the way that they match the top players against the bottom players and the way that that first round worked. You know, Fifthwiel was playing somebody at about the 126,000 combat power level, and so somebody around his level, and then round 2 gets matched up against B-Man. So Fifthwiel falls to 1-1. B-Man is through at 2-2.
And B-Man kind enough to give some advice there to Fifthwiel, asking how does he counter Scorp, and saying that he would win with Incendiary Bomb. So I would guess that he's pointing towards Incendiary Bomb on Stormcaller. Sadly, Fifthwiel isn't running that. But perhaps could have gone for High Explosive. It is worse, but it could have helped. I think for me, the thing I would have gone for is try and range the sledges. Now, mind you, I am no sledge specialist at all.
But I completely agree with you. I am a sledge specialist, and you are not giving bad advice.
Yeah. So. And maybe even try and head towards something like EMP at some point. I think in that case, sledges can try and go toe-to-toe with Scorpions, but not if you leave them in this state with no upgrades running into their doom.
Yeah, for me, the key here, I completely agree with you. The 300 on range for the Storms, really wanted to be 300 for range on the sledges. But then the other piece is this missing the back line of crawlers. So there's nothing, even his flank screening crawlers are so far forward that they're involved in getting killed by the fire badgers while the badgers are still alive. If he had some, I would almost want for each pack of sledge for there to be a crawler on the back line, or the flank screen one in the back corner could have been fine for the outside ones, but the inside ones needed their own pack of late arriving crawler as well.
And then maybe a final thing could have been some chaff all the way in the front. Stormcallers were just shooting at that pack of vertical fangs first thing every single round. In fact, if you look at them, they are number 1 and number 2 in terms of units killed, which is not what you want if your opponent doesn't have something like Incendiary Vulcans.
And they're close enough together that he could have distracted their initial volleys with a single crawler up front. And then we could also have had the what I'm calling the mid-late or mid-early even. So I'm thinking of there being 4 layers of crawler location. So front line, early mid, late mid, and deep. So the early mid crawlers would be out in front of where he's got his Stormcallers right now. Could have kept those storms firing at crawlers instead of at more valuable units.
Yeah. And we have Gutsu saying, extra range on storms can even hurt someone sent they don't shoot while previous salvo is still in the air. That's not like something that is dependent on range. Stormcallers just have a long reload time of 6.3 seconds. Yeah. So that is probably true whether you have range or not.
The countdown starts the moment the fire happened, not the moment the animation completes, I believe is what you're trying to say.
Yeah. So it shouldn't be that much of an issue. The thing here is that he just doesn't need the range. His whole army will get in front of his Stormcallers regardless. So there's no need of giving them the additional range. It doesn't protect them from anything. There's not really that much to shoot at either, considering B-Man had those 2 crawlers up front.
Right. It's the second crawler kind of negated the range play entirely. So.
Bearlike still in a game, by the way.
All right, let's jump into that one. What is the bear up to right now?
Still up to his Farseer shenanigans, it seems.
He does like them. Going up against...
And he always gets Farseer spec. I don't know how he does it.
When you're the developer, you can special code if username equals. I am certain he has not done that. Certainly, as a dev myself, it was a point of pride that there was absolutely no cheating, no rigged anything in the game. Yeah. So.
No EMP, though, on the Farseer means that this War Factory just gets to intercept as much as it wants.
Right. He's got it on the bar. He just never runs it. I don't know why.
I mean, I'm sure he'll click it. I don't know if the War Factory, it might have come out this turn.
Yeah, maybe.
In which case, I don't know why his opponent clicked efficient maintenance, but that's a different thing.
Well, the opponent is planning on this War Factory having turned it around and turning this into a long game.
I mean, fair enough, but I think generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, I really don't want to click efficient maintenance past round 7.
I was actually having a whole lot of fun running some War Factories on ladder last night. Chat challenged me to do it and then, to force it. And all of a sudden, when I started forcing it, I started winning. So, War Factory is... I mean, I was winning up until I ran into that 1900 player I was telling you about with all of the crawlers and loose formation.
Yeah.
Which is exactly where Bearlike has gone. That player was a 201 player and just had an amazing chaff board. It was fun. Second War Factory on the board now for 641181904. I think I got that name right. And War Crime
Wonder
Vulcans.
what it means.
Going to light everything on fire.
That Ion is brutal as well.
Right through the Phoenix. Of course, it won't kill the War Factory, but it's going to take care of the Scorpion next to it.
Yeah, that's rough. It killed the Scorpion on the right as well.
Yeah.
And he clicked EMP finally.
Oh, Bearlike clicked EMP. News at 11.
Yeah, he did.
Breaking news. EMP on his Farseers, finally. And of course, EMP on the Farseers was exactly what he needed.
Yep.
Great, though, that one of the devs is up over 2,000 MMR, playing at the almost 140,000 combat power level, and a threat to win a weekend tournament. Like that is.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that used to be Misim.
Right. Misim, yeah, obviously has been pulled into. I mean, these guys are also crunching right now. If you've never worked in game development, they will be pulling some very long hours trying to, do all the optimizations and cleanup that are needed to bring a game to full polish, full release. It's It's an exhausting labor at this point of the development cycle. We have another upset up top. Secco, not to be confused with Sacco, has knocked off the number 3 seed, which was...
that master.
That is, in fact, I am the master and you are the servant. So, Dzemp, Tungdill, Bearlike, and B-Man all getting the wins. Obviously...
Sacco also managing a win.
Okay, a Red Sunset, Lord Clinkariat Cursed, Xanatos, Yes Win Big, KGB, Cross God, knocked off RivRuskende. Julien Lee beat Asmodeus, who had that big upset win in round 1. KM Peck, we have, who's this one? Royal Ice Cool gets through the battle of the two 201s. Mr. Rossi won. Blix over Aztap, Illuminati, I Like Napping, Sacco, and Galaxy all through. Bearlike's up against Green Spirit.
I still think
that person is over 2,000 MMR.
If possible.
Yep, fair enough. Bearlike and Green Spirit. He did. He developed the game of his dreams, it's true. All right, welcome to round 3 of Weekend Tournament Asia number 70. We've got Nearside Blue Bearlike, the developer, 2,000 MMR player, and runner-up in Weekend Tournament Europe last week. Green Spirit, who we just saw in that running those level 5 forts, will be Farside Red. And Green Spirit has taken an Elite Specialist with Tarantula and Fang. For Bearlike, personally, I like the supplies, the Speed Specialist, but I knew Bearlike was more likely to take the supply.
And oh my days, am I happy. Yes, Green Spirit took the pack I would have taken as well. Let's go. We have an Elite Enjoyer. I'm excited.
All right, bring it.
Whenever I see like a chaff plus something Elite pack, I'm excited.
You're happy for it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll play it. It's so much fun.
And he's coming out aggro right on the line with the tarantulas. This is one we did a teaching Tuesday with Yes Win Big a couple weeks ago to work on tarantula. Obviously before some of the balance patches and before Farseer existed. So, but had a lot of fun working on what the positionings are and what the tech order is. So a lot of people, of course, love the spider mine. One of the things we found was that the way to get the most out of this kind of aggro is to take range on the tarantula so that you get levels into the tarantula first, because the spider mine experience gets divided. It's treated as a board effect, so it gets divided across all of your living units that are on board at the time that the spider mine gets the kill, rather than credited to the tarantula that spawned that spider mine.
Yeah. And first win here, first round win for Green Spirit, able to walk down his opponent. The crawler's a bit far back to my liking, but being elite here, picking up that underground threat, round 2 often really awkward for elite, because either you skip and you can buy one of your 300 cost starting units and a chaff, which would have been alright in this case, or you pick a card and you're stuck with 350 money and all you can do is pick some cheap units. So that's exactly what happens here. Goes for the underground threat and picks up 2 more sets of blue crawlers all the way in the back of the map. Again, I think there's a bit of a mismatch here between the spiders that are really far in front, and then there's a big gap before we hit the crawlers. Usually I would have preferred it to be crawlers slightly behind the spiders, somewhere between the spiders and the tower, and then perhaps a second wave after that. But let's see, because Bearlike, with his unusual playstyle as always, decides to pick up Advanced Shield Device this round and goes for instant charge shots, picking up more Arclights along the way. Triple Arclight deployment.
So, Arclight patch in 0902, Arclight rate of fire was reduced to 0.9 seconds, and what that means is a charged shot arc fires every 1.2 seconds, where the previous Arclight used to fire every 1.1 before charged shot. So, charged shot arc is almost as quick at chaff clear as Arclight used to be by itself. Of course, all you have to do to really negate the Arclight is click Loose Formation, but Loose Formation costs 400 now. So, we will find out if Arclight is back on the menu in this game, I think.
And a bunch of good items showing up. Are they that good for Bearlike? I don't know. Yeah, he decides to go for the shield airdrop. But Green Spirit opting for the nano repair instead of the shield. We also see an Arclight on the flank.
And it paid its summoning price last round after losing to those level 2 crawlers. So he's got the shield down there to protect it against anything that might support those crawlers.
And Bearlike, in carry Arclight fashion, really doubling down.
Full carry arc. I'm not even going with range. I just want all the damage.
I don't think I've ever seen this many arcs with double techs by round 3.
I've never seen this many without range, right? Like, it takes elite marksman.
I mean, it makes some sense with how close everything is.
Yeah.
Tarantulas only have 75 base range anyway, so the Arclights here sing at 98 and 103 meter range for level 1 and level 2 respectively. Shouldn't be in too much of trouble. That being said, Green Spirit realizes it and immediately picks up a marksman.
And Toast points out, fun fact, a few months ago, Arclight had a regular fire rate of 1.2. That is also true. And they were completely debuffed. Completely hurt.
They also used to have a regular fire rate of 1.0.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was before charge shots, like, was an actual, like, had a downside.
Right. Yeah, that 1.0 is when they were completely oppressive to me as a player. That's why this 0.9 change scared me. I'm like, eek, I have trauma. I have trauma. Save me. Yes, the range does increase with each level. So as those level up, they will be getting more and more range from the elite marksman. Unit reinforcement drop. We've got Saber, Phoenix, Melter, and Rhino. Green Spirit takes the Phoenix. Great answer for the Arclights, but Bearlike is running anti-air spec on them. But for a while, it's a good answer, and especially if you're running EMP on your Phoenix. Green Spirit is not. Bearlike takes the Melter and just sets it up to insta-lock the Nano Repair Tarantula. You have offended me. Please go away.
And seems like Bearlike has read his own patch notes, because I see a tech upgrade on that melting point that we don't get to see very often. The armor enhancement is available, has been buffed, only costing 100 now.
And he's running it for the 50% hit point increase as much as for the 60 damage, right? Armor enhancement has been quietly getting buffed. And one of the big buffs was that single, where on the axe for which it is a single unit, most armor enhancement gives 50% hit points now. So this thing was just not getting picked at all. And he's going to run it for the 50% hit points at 100 cost if he ever feels like he needs to. And he's using that to support positioning the Melter way up front like this, right?
Yeah, I mean, either armor enhancement here or energy absorption might be all right. Both will put the melting point at around 100k hit points. And that's just going to take a while to go down.
Green Spirit used the level 2 Rhino. Since he's elite specialist, he just brings it out at level 2. And, destroys the flank Arclight this time.
Yep. Not interested in any of those flanking shenanigans.
No.
Shuts it down immediately.
Flank denied. And of course, the only anti-air really on Bearlike's board was the Phoenix. So this round goes to Green Spirit. Green Spirit at 5,000 hit points and Bearlike just under 2,400.
A skip here for Green Spirit. I would imagine the same. I'm a bit surprised. Maybe EMP wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world for Green Spirit. It's very cheap, and you probably can hit like 4 arc lights on the right side.
And you spam it so many times over the course of a game. I've actually been really liking that one. I've been liking that one.
Instead, already picks up a Fortress.
Straight opposite. Fort with Nano Repair. We'll put the level 2 crawlers right in front and trust that we've got enough chaff to block between the fangs at 75 meters. The fort will be back at 100, so it shouldn't ever get locked by that melter. At least not until the arcs have had problems. Or have had time to clear all the chaff.
The hope, right? Because if it does lock on, then it probably can heal back up to full now that it has the energy absorption.
Right.
Which does, in fact, put it at 99k hit points.
Oh, dear God.
But I think level 3 Phoenix plus Fortress, both of them insta-locking, the Melter shouldn't pose any problems.
Right, but they don't insta-lock, is my point. Oh, I see the Fort and the Phoenix do insta-lock. I get you.
Yeah.
My bad. And the Melter does not, so the Melter needs to be sold. And the Melter remained the only anti-air on Bearlike's board.
Yeah, this looks this looks dire. I would not like to take over Bearlike's board here.
Which of course we can do now with the replay feature.
Yeah, I don't think I will be doing that though.
No? No, you sure?
I will just leave that to Bearlike.
Community challenge. Take over Bearlike's board, do 5,000 hit points in a single round. Go.
Yeah. Both players here opting for the Wraith. I'm really surprised that Bearlike is still willing to go for that flank when he has this many problems on the front lines.
He's taken armor on the melter to get it up to 130,000 hit points almost. Takes a second one. Even the level 1 is sitting at 65,000 hit points right now. For Green Spirit, he's got the Underground Threat coming. He's got Tower Health, so he has a slight advantage over Bearlike, who does not have Tower Health. Bearlike KG to that, has an Arclight in the back line to support, and picks up another Melter. Basically getting some insta-locks on Tarantulas. This one gets blocked by some new crawlers.
Yeah, I'm a little confused about the play. I don't really understand why he didn't missile the crawlers.
To keep that level 2 alive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was perhaps expecting something like Barrier to come out, which is understandable, but at this point in the game, it probably might just be worth trying. But either way, there were a lot of problems on this board. Too many arc lights, not enough chaff. And that just results in insta-locks on the melters.
If we took down this Phoenix, we would have had another round. But we did not. And Green Spirit is through. Bearlike knocked out. Well, not knocked out. Of course, you have up to 3 defeats. But I expect Bearlike might abandon at this stage, given that there's work to do. So.
Surprised he didn't defend the big melter. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just not enough chaff.
There's a big gap in chaff here, right? Like we could just throw down a crawler of our own in front and take some of those initial shots.
And I think there's also just too much of a flank commitment.
Right, paying the flank summoning price on that level 3 Wraith was very painful.
Yeah, and he had another Arclight there for a bit.
And he sold out of it. Yeah.
But wrong thing to invest into.
Yeah, I've made this mistake personally where by the late game, throwing down units on the flank and paying the price of not having them committing to the battle for 10 seconds is just very painful. Especially if it's a high commitment unit like a Wraith. Level 3 Wraith.
And going for things like Siege Scorpions and Anti-Missile Mustang is probably just too much of a waste of resources.
In the last match going, we're into round 9 with Yeswin Big at 330 hit points and B-Man at 190. Yeswin Big has a War Factory and a bunch of Mustangs with range and ranged EMP Phoenixes. On the other side of the board, it's basically more Vulcan Mustang, or Vulcan Marksman even, with the Marksman in assault mode.
Oh yeah.
Not
what a board.
Yeah, not spawning assault mode Marksman off of the Vulcan, but still.
I mean, who knows? Well, I guess we don't get another round because of how low they are. But...
Yeah, well, I don't think we're getting another round.
It's a shame. Sandworms with armor and replicate as well. Lots and lots and lots of giants.
And one of them with photon coating on it, right? Second War Factory for Yeswin Big. And it's Launcher Overload and Missile Interceptor for them. Missile interceptor here will be intercepting the AA barrage off of the fortresses to keep the EMP Phoenixes alive. And wow, look at those trucks delete worms. Goodness.
Pick the overload there.
Yeah, they only shoot every 0.9 seconds. Well, just shoot as fast as an arc light, no biggie. What?
Well, it's individual guns, of which it has 4. Shoots as fast as an arc light.
And each individual gun does 10,000 damage. Ouch.
Yep.
Yes, win big, let's go. And he says,
win.
He says, I learned about this War Factory trick on this stream last night. Amaroq is GOAT. Let's go. Congratulations, yes, win big. Through against B-Man. That is a major upset. And well done to you, sir. Beats a 2100 MMR player. We have, what do we have here? 11 unbeaten with KM-Pack in the spoiler role. It'll be Dzemp, Galaxy Ends, Illuminati, Unrivaled Super Hottie in the driver's seats right now. Green Spirit, Flix, Sacco, I Like Napping, First, Xanatos, and Yes Win Big are your other threats to win this tournament.
Alternatively, Unrivaled could also be a fun game.
Yeah, I think we wanted to do the Unrivaled Super Hottie versus Cursed last round. I could also enjoy watching Yes Win Big after that satisfying win. Up to you.
Let's go for Cursed then, and Unrivaled.
Perfect. I was hovering over that spectate button. It's a fun tournament that rewards flanks, tricky plays, getting towers quickly. So I kind of expect Unrivaled Super Hottie has been working on that.
Actually, I think I'm up against that team today.
Ah, all right. And is you guys matched between Asia and Europe? I would expect.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Fun. So stay tuned to Rooster's channel for that. Welcome to round 4 of Weekend Tournament Asia number 70. First, Nearside Blue, Giant Specialist with Tarantulas and Crawlers. Unrivaled Super Hottie, Far Side, took the Rhino Specialist with Mustang and Crawler, and winced as soon as he saw the Tarantulas on the board. I mean...
Yeah, bit of a rough matchup there.
I don't have a cam on Unrivaled Super Hottie, but I'm pretty sure I saw the wince.
I mean, one way he can make up for it is by doing exactly what he does now. Pushing one side and hoping that Cursed isn't doing a similar thing. Now, knowing Cursed, I believe he likes to play standard most of the time. So the thing that Super Hottie will be looking for here is trying to overpower one side of the board, because the Mustangs will be able to together take out one Tarantula, but if they would have to face them individually on a one-on-one, that's where problems start to arise. Marksman purchased here by Super Hottie, by the way. A little bit surprising to me. Goes for one crawler and one marksman. I think it would have been preferable to go for something like a crawler here. And we can see here that one side did get overpowered. Now the Tara debuff hits.
That's going to take down that
exactly
second Tarantula. Nicely done, Super
That's exactly
Hottie.
what he needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still a little confused about the marksman purchase. If Super Hottie was, say, like an aerial spec or a quick supply, perhaps an air cheese would have been something. But as Rhino spec, that's not really possible, and the marksman doesn't help against any of these units on the opponent board. Underground threat picked up for Cursed. Tries to regain some tempo.
Elite hacker for Unrivaled Super Hottie. And as we saw in the Dev Pro tournament, which I know was middle of the night for you, but obviously can be found on on YouTube or in VODs. As we saw in the Dev Pro tournament, SteelSane was trying to run a Tarantulas from standard with range and spider mines, and the counter to it is Hacker. So Unrivalled Super Hottie sees 2 Tarantulas on the board and picks up the Elite Hacker for later in the game. Cursed committing into the Tarantula buys a 3rd one.
Yeah, and it is a strong composition as well. Mustang Hacker has been a thing for quite some time. And I think Unrivaled here will be pretty happy seeing that Cursed commits to even more Tarantulas. Crawlers, however, with that underground threat, did make it through the enemy crawlers and are now getting a debuff. So that's a rather convincing win. Somewhat expected. First, basically filling the gaps in his defense on the left side by adding that additional Tarantula, and Unrivaled doesn't quite have the means to buy proper single target DPS and something tanky, which does show up this turn in the form of triple Sabertooth.
That is a great pickup for Super Hottie. And
yeah.
Cursed, I think seeing the Hacker pack, went ahead and took the level 3 Phoenix, so he's got some air, and just sold out of the Tarantula to pick up a Vulcan now. So.
Yeah, not beating around the bush himself here, instantly setting up a Vulcan Phoenix type board.
Yeah, I think pivoting off of the Tarantulas was exactly what Cursed needed there.
So. Yeah, heads up play.
Mm-hmm. And the Phoenix.
It's very easy to miss what your opponent has picked.
Mm-hmm. And also very important that he picked up the Phoenix, because that will be a solid counter to the Sabers. Obviously, Super Hottie picks up double shot. It's so cheap. 100 cost to essentially double their DPS. It's not quite, it's like plus 87%, but still. They delete giants, that's what counts.
That's exactly what's needed against the giant spec.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, I was thinking that the return of double shot to Sabertooth was a bigger nerf to Vulcan than anything they've done to Vulcan.
Yeah, perhaps. I think what's hurt Cursed here is also the fact that he positioned his Phoenix so close to the flank.
Right.
And with the addition of crawlers there, he wasn't able to chaff clear them. And so the Phoenix basically got stuck all around doing nothing.
I mean, they did carry the round eventually. But yeah, all round they were wasting time. Both players at 3,700 hit points. Amp core for Cursed, that will go straight onto the giant, I would presume. Unrivaled Super Hottie takes one as well. And you gotta figure that is going on a Mustang here for increasing the DPS there. This one had almost leveled, so it is the natural home for it. Scorched is down to 100%, but it's still a critical tech for a Vulcan, and that's the first thing that Cursed takes. Not taking range so that he doesn't get out and get locked onto the Sabertooths early. And what have we added? A Fang on that side to distract Sabertooth a little bit longer. Unrivaled Super Hottie with a mobile beacon over to the other side, where he's going to have the level 2 Rhino making a rush at tower. First, at least aware to that threat, has taken leveled that tower up to level 3. So nice read from Cursed.
I was going to say it's somewhat likely that there will be a play on the right tower on this specific turn, considering that it is the Rhino turn.
Right.
I probably would have expected something like a missile, perhaps, on the tower. But I guess leveling the tower also works. And looks like those sabers are still good enough to deal with the Vulcan. Tower will fall, and then also the left tower going down. Enough Mustangs now on the board with range to deal with all those Phoenixes on the left side.
Yeah, the range...
Convincing win on round 4.
Yeah, range critically kept them out of the Vulcan's clutches and ensured that the Vulcan couldn't lock on them without locking on a Sabertooth. So Super Hottie has levels on both the Mustangs and 2 of the Sabers.
There's some good items too.
Mm-hmm.
Picking up an improved this turn, having that amp core from round 2.
Yeah, great Mustang items. Of course, Cursed has the same items and has them on Vulcans, but isn't getting quite as much value out of the improved firepower control on a Vulcan because of the way that percentages are additive instead of multiplicative. So this is not, you know, times 1.7 times 2.0, it's times 2.7.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about this Vulcan purchase. I mean, I get it, but...
Oh, Super Hottie just reading that oil beautifully.
It was taunting him in chat a little bit as well, asking about the the oil. So perhaps putting the idea of oil into his opponent's mind and then playing around it. Who knows?
A little bit of gamesmanship there.
Yeah, we'll have to see how good the Vulcans are here. I mean, they do have the items, but he needs those Phoenixes to be freed up to help him out a little bit.
Pack of Fangs in front of the Rhino has done just enough to slow it down, and a pack of Phoenix behind it kills it. On the other hand, the I dodged your oil Mustangs are enough to take down the strongest Phoenix on that side, get tower. Look how little hit points those 2 Sabers in the middle have. Goodness.
And they're still going too. Managing another shot on that Vulcan. Wow.
Yikes. So Super Hottie showing off the triple threat trickster tricks in advance. Rooster getting some good scouting here. First is on 1700, Super Hottie's on 3700.
Redeployment here could be really nice for Unrivaled, but opts to go for the laser sight instead. Same thing for Cursed. And yet another Vulcan. Wow, okay. And range as well.
And it has a laser sight.
I don't know about this. I mean, the right side is fine. So the right side was looking like it had no problems last turn. The main thing is trying to deal with all these sabers on the left. And importantly as well, I think Unrivaled has been clicking temp speed a lot in the past rounds, and that makes a huge difference for these type of pushes.
And he's still got the mobile beacon available. I'm expecting to see something with the Rhino going around those fangs to just get straight in on tower. Range for the Sabers.
Range on the Sabers.
That's interesting because it pushes them back to the 135 meters that the Mustangs are at. So now you can target both of them together. Commits heavily to a flank, so it's definite triple threat tricksters play here, with the Mustangs following a mobile beacon down to support that flank as well. And,
but that mobile beacon is...
That was painful. Right into
4
the...
Mustangs! Oh my days.
And the Rhino without a mobile beacon gets stuck on the fangs again and deleted.
The one thing, like Unrivaled has a great tempo here, and overall the plays are really nice, but there is a very heavy commitment of like crawlers on the flanks, and that does make those Vulcan purchases more worth. At this point, like it's almost, you know, he kind of plays into Cursed's hand,
right,
by putting this many. Round 7.
Fort, Stormcaller, and Melter. Obviously Melter if you were super worried about these Vulcans, but for Super Hottie, in my aggro, one of the things I've found really useful is having some Stormcallers for the additional hit point damage, because they're going to survive the round if you win, and of course opponent is often sitting still, so they rarely miss a shot. Quartz for Cursed, Melter for Super Hottie. Super Hottie is going to add a double Wasp.
Double shot Fortress. Wow.
You're running double shot barrier. Fortress? Doesn't even have barrier on the bar anymore. It'll certainly help against the Rhino, which now has a mobile beacon over to the other tower.
The problem here, though, is that the fortresses are fine into sabers, but only if they got kind of equal techs, and without the range, I don't think they'll be able to lock on. And at least if they do, it means that the sabers are also locked onto them.
Right, without a chaff unit in front of them, you can see they just get deleted.
We even have a melter making the journey over to the other side.
Yep.
And it ends up not so much being the Mustangs that are the problem, but those high-level double-teched Sabertooth.
Yeah, those level 3 Sabertooth dealing 20,000 per shot, which is 40,000 per volley, just deleting giants like they're not even there. Thump, thump, thump. Very convincing win for Unrivaled Super Hottie.
Very nice.
Oh, well played. Around the league, Dzemp, Illuminati, I Like Napping, Sacco, Unrivaled Super Hottie, and Galaxy Ends will be your 6 unbeaten. Dzemp beating KM back in the spoiler role. Alright, 30 seconds till round 5. We will have probably one of the most standard of standard matchups in Dzemp versus Galaxy. We'll have a much more creative matchups in I Like Napping versus Unrivaled Super Hottie and Illuminati versus Sacco. Dzemp, of course, was the champion from that Dev Pro tourney. After the, I'm sure most of your viewers and mine have seen the 13-round epic with Steel Sane. All right. So 1 minute to go in this one. We talked about what I was seeing from Dzemp in the Dev Pro tourney was deep standard play, using a very strong marksman line was his preferred line. He's also one of the things I noticed that I'm going to try to incorporate in my game a little bit more. Dzemp seemed to play very almost a very, I'm just building my chaff until I see the first unit drop, and actually floated a little bit of money into a round 4 unit drop. So when he saw it, he was like, okay, great, I'm going to take 3 level 2 marksmen, and then I'm going to triple recruit 3 more marksmen, and maybe it was the round that he took them, he gave them range and double recruited, I think, and then the following round was triple elite recruit. So by round 5, he had 8 level 2 ranged marksmen on the board. But really waited until that showed up. And of course, we've talked about Galaxy's play on my channel. Welcome to round 5 of Weekend Tournament Asia number 70. Dzemp versus the Galaxy Ends, or the End of the Galaxy. Marksman and Specialist for Dzemp. Arclight and Sledge, talked about how much he likes the marksman. And it looks like a cost control specialist for Galaxy. Cost control buffed in the recent patch. The ATK changed, or the penalty to units changed from 13% to 11%. So that actually lets you buy back to stronger than a normal unit with the 12% attack from tower. So if you're really concerned about your ATK, you can get it right back up to normal on round 1 using the 100 cost. Of course, you're back behind your opponent once they take their 1-on-1s from tower, but you can get those much earlier than they do. Galaxy starting with their kind of standard positioning. The damage on cost control arc I cannot check because Galaxy did exactly what I said they might do, taking the ATK to get back up to par. So the arc light is back up to 345. The crawler at 292. So regular arc is 347. This guy is 345. It's basically the same.
I think even without the tower buff, you're still fine.
Yeah, it's still one-shots crawler.
Yeah. There might be a break point, though, again, between heavy armor and cost control.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't tested. Sledges? Yeah, I think there's just a general sledge breakpoint with normal arc lights versus normal sledges, where like you need 5 shots to kill a sledge instead of like 4 or something.
It's like 10 shots to get through a 10 shots to get through a sledge with an arc light. And then the cost control version would have taken a little bit longer, but is back up to 10 shots here. Back down to 10 shots. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think it might be level 2 arc lights need like 5 shots now instead of 4. Shots.
And then they would need 6 with the if you haven't taken the tower upgrade.
Yeah.
Both players started with 4,800 hit points. Dzemp wins round 1, drops Galaxy to 4440. Dzemp getting the level 3 marksman now. And we get an instant unit reinforcement. Steel
very
ball,
early.
level 3 fangs, wraith, or typhoon.
And Dzemp here opting to go for the wraith might just be as an annoyance, because there isn't really anything that likes to deal with it on the board for Galaxy. That being said, marksmen aren't that bad for him, because it will also help him DPS a bit better against the sledges. So he might just buy those by default.
Right. Galaxy had no upshoot, but picks up the typhoons, so now possesses some upshoot. And picks up 2 more Stormcallers.
Wow.
Boom, boom.
Okay.
And just has, this is their standard positioning for storms. It's what they like to run.
It'll be interesting to see if the typhoons are good enough, because they tend to struggle a lot against tanky air units.
And to get to the air unit, it's going to have to survive the tanks and Arclight. I mean, they do have a lot of hit points.
All the way around, though, Wraith also not a DPS monster, so...
Wraith is going to take down 1 Typhoon. I think it loses to the second one here. Oh, no, it barely stayed alive. That 1 hit point, it has 15,001 hit points, and it used the last one.
Well, looks like my worry was warranted.
It certainly was.
And that's a pretty good pickup there for Dzemp, because that Wraith ended up taking out almost every pack out of the 4 packs of Stormcallers. That would have been a sizable amount of hit points.
Right. It's 800 damage. that mitigated and 300 damage dealt. And that sort of thing can be game-breaking, right? For if you're in an otherwise close matchup.
Yep.
You know, an 1100 point swing is huge. Absorption module for Dzemp, and that is actually going on the Wraith, which came close to leveling, so it's not just a temporary pickup.
Yeah, Wraith has been getting quite a few nerfs to its level up threshold, and I think it's one of, well, it certainly is one of the highest requirements for level 1 to level 2. Even higher than for most of the giants, actually.
Wow.
So where a level 1 fortress needs 1600 EXP to level, Wraith is still sitting at 1950.
Yep. Takes more experience to level the Wraith from 1 to 2 than it takes to level a Sledge from 2 to 3.
Yeah, it's big. Now, we do see a marksman purchase from Galaxy. And doesn't want to roll the dice yet again, especially with the item showing up.
Galaxy,
also going for a defensive Wasp Swarm.
Yeah, Galaxy normally plays those deep fangs pretty early, so it doesn't have them in this board. Still didn't have chaff from last round, so they deployed the flank screening crawlers, and that meant they needed to pick up the wasps defensively.
Dzemp here, I believe picking up some storm collars.
Yeah, storms are new for Dzemp.
Looks like that Wraith will just, yep.
Wraith getting it done again. I think this pack of fangs was new. The one that survived over here for Dzemp was also new in the Wraith, Wasp call-in coverage position. I think that was new. Maybe not. Range for Dzemp.
Dzemp going for advanced aiming system on round 4.
Big investment.
Really confident. And honestly, you can't fault him for the confidence here. Really solid, like, first 3 rounds. Has been creating so many problems with that Wraith. And hasn't lost a single hit point.
If this is going to be a range war, I want to be the one that wins it. And when you're in, you know, two players in such standard position from so deep, it's definitely looking like a range war.
Yeah, and add on top of that, okay, so Galaxy does realize it and picks it up himself too, because cost control tends to fall off late. The money doesn't really make it that much of a difference anymore when you get like close to 2k every single turn. But the lack of stats does. So being behind in both the range department and the stat department would probably be too much. And yeah, willing to perhaps make another health sacrifice here, but keep up with that advanced aiming system.
And does Elite recruit a pair of marksmen? Actually, triple recruit, I think. 3 level 2 marksmen. Dzemp's ad was just the 2 crawlers in the flank screen positions.
Yep, and also levels one of his sledgehammers and levels the Wraith.
Yeah.
Marksman on the other side already with range though. They might still not be enough to take this Wraith down.
They're gonna do it. They need to do it quick. Goodness.
Don't think they will. And this just shows the power of Ray units when you pick the correct thing. I'm certain Dzemp realized that Wraith would be really annoying for Galaxy to deal with, and it's won him every single round so far. Of course, the other units are helping as well, but the Wraith is such a menace, and it's forcing Galaxy to deal with it, rather than perhaps setting up the board in the way that he would normally want to.
Galaxy does like their Marksman Vulcan comp or a Phoenix Vulcan comp. I think they prefer Vulcan Phoenix, but they do have at least the best partner available.
And both players picking up efficient tech research. Double Vulcan and Dzemp going for 1 Wasp pack.
To go with 2 Storm
Also picking
Callers.
up 2 Storms. Yeah.
Wasp pack back here in the corner, hidden at the bottom of my screen. There is no difference in terms of Galaxy's board handling the Wraith this round, other than the idea that there will be better chaff clear. So in theory,
Yeah.
the marksman should be
And
targeting
perhaps
the Wraith
adding
earlier.
another tanky body in front of the marksman.
In front of it, yeah. Takes the loan to get range on the Vulcans.
Also, Destination F. Thank you so much for the sub. Big love. Thank you, thank you.
Should call out Toast as well. Thank you for several gift subs given during this stream. Much appreciated.
And the Storms just, I mean, Dzemp showing why he's been sitting up and around at the 2.3k mark for some time now. Just picking up the right thing on the right rounds, going for that Wraith as early as turn 2, realizing the lack of air units, or anti-air units rather, on Galaxy's end, all the way up to here, picking up those 2 Stormcallers on the turn that we get 2 Giants from Galaxy, and just out-tempoing his opponent while keeping a board that is able to scale pretty well into the late game as well.
Right, the investment into the Wraith has been pretty small for the amount of value that he's gotten out of it.
Yeah. And here we see Steel Balls actually being picked up for Dzemp.
And he instantly techs Absorption on them.
And there was a bit of a gamble to be made there, whether or not Galaxy wanted to go for the Scorpion, which was also offered, or go for the Melter. Goes for the Melter to perhaps deal with that Wraith.
Gonna finally deal with the Wraith.
In the process of doing so, adds another unit to the board that gets countered by these Steel Balls.
Right.
We see more and more Wasps picked up. 3, in fact.
And
2 added to the back line and 1 on the flank.
Yeah, that flank is brutal. At least Galaxy has brought out their flank screening fangs. It's late, but this is their standard position. And they just brought them out just in time this round.
Yep. I think the flank should be completely fine to deal with, but I'm more worried about these additional Wasps and the new Steel Balls on the main advance. Oil, though, doing quite a good job here, taking down 1 pack of Storms, also getting rid of all the chaff.
Crucially getting rid of the chaff so that the ranged Melter could lock onto the Wraith before the Wasps arrived. If that had gone the other way around, then Melter was just going to be sitting there on Wasps all day long.
Yeah.
Which it is now.
And this is where Galaxy finds himself in a spot that you never want to be in Mechabellum, which is you have 2 problems. The 2 problems being, he doesn't have a unit that deals with Wasp, and he doesn't really have a unit that deals with Steel Balls.
Right. His Wasp
and
answer is going to be ranging his fangs.
Yeah, perhaps. But he only has like 3 packs of them. So
it's expensive to do, yeah. Well, 250 to range.
Well, you would have to trust those backline banks to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
Because the front ones will be dying.
Right.
It's probably his best option, to be fair. But yeah, that still leaves up the threat of steel balls. And you could try and click Scorcher on the Vulcan, but it probably doesn't do enough. Especially with these steel balls on 1 pack already being level 4.
And 2 more elite recruited. Galaxy does have the Wasp Swarm available this round, which can be used in front of the flanking Wasps. Did actually do almost exactly what I was saying he would with range on the Fangs, buys 3 more Fangs, and puts 2 of them horizontal in front of the Stormcaller. I just knew that from having watched enough of Galaxy's play. It's going to be the answer to the Fangs, or to the Wasps. They'll be hoping that it's enough to stop the steel balls as well, or at least tie them up for a while. And,
I mean, that's where, like, the second problem enters. Having a really low amount of Fang packs, he realizes that he needs more for them to be able to clear the Wasps consistently. And in doing so, he can't buy a counter to the steel balls. Now, he does get the acid there to help out in the middle, but outside steel balls were added.
Right.
And the steel balls actually don't seem to care too much about the acid.
No, they just move right through it, and they're going to heal the damage done right back up off of those giants. There is not much left on the board, sir.
Yep. And honestly, this whole game just seems like Galaxy trying to answer the round 2 drop Dzemp picked.
Right, that round 2 drop was completely game-changing in this game. And Swordfist has a point, says if Galaxy had picked up Phoenix on round 3 instead of the Sniper, it would have been a different game. Potentially, the Phoenix doing a little bit more DPS, and then not being vulnerable to the steel ball at the end, and that is Galaxy's preferred comp. But I think there was also just dropping a single unteched level 1 marksman on that round instead of actually answering the Wraith, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think the round 2 decision was already wrong. Because I was already saying, I don't like the Typhoon pick here. Or I like the Typhoon pick is fine, but I know that it will struggle against the Wraith.
Right.
You might have to just pick up Marksman on that round.
Right.
Because you know that Wraith might show up. That might have been like one of the turning points. And then 2 is right up until round 6, where we get a second free unit drop. I think the Wraith is what impacted Galaxy's choice of going for the Melter. Because nothing else on the board warrants a Melter.
Nope.
And that should have been a Scorpion pick, in all honesty. Because there's leveled sledges, and steel balls are offered as well. He probably should have just trusted his marksman. I mean, he added 3 of them on that side. He should have just trusted those, I think, to do the job at this point. Either maybe even taking double shots in if he's really feels like he's in a pickle. But yeah, really solid like tempo gameplay here from Dzemp.
Right, and it's really interesting when we think of tempo play from the aggressor's perspective, or in terms of using spells for tempo. And Dzemp really, this was a masterclass in playing tempo from standard without overcommitting to spells, to temporary things. He builds a great solid late game board, but also tempoed his opponent out. It's just, I mean, it's a level beyond anything I've ever been in this game. It's just amazing.
It's a playstyle that Steel Sane does a lot as well.
Yeah, Steel Sane does it amazingly well. In fact, I think Steel Sane's addition of tempo to his play has been probably the biggest improvement in his game in the last couple of months.
Yep.
we went from 11 to 6. We've gone from 6 to 3. We will have a spoiler in round 6 to determine whether or not we have a round 7. But, Sacco and I Like Napping, winners of their games. Dzemp beating Galaxy Ends. So we're going to have 3 unbeatens remaining. And as is tradition, at least on my channel, I don't know about your tradition, I follow the match featuring the 2 unbeatens so that we can...
Yes. Wouldn't want to miss the... Well,
exactly.
The potential final.
The potential final. All right, our match will be I Like Napping versus Sacco in round 6. Illuminati is going to be in the spoiler role against Dzemp. If you're not familiar with the way that these tournaments work, obviously when there's an odd number, the highest ranked unbeaten is faced against the highest ranked player, and the tournament ends when there's only one undefeated player. So this match between Sacco and I Like Napping could be the final, or it could be the semifinal, depending on the outcome of Illuminati versus Dzemp. We'll be in the Sacco I Like Napping game. Right, and I've always enjoyed having up the folks that are gentlemen, just kind of show off the gentlemanly aspect of it, of the game.
So, see a bunch of decent packs here. Farseer spec actually pretty good for I Like Napping. Could also go for Fortified spec. Rhino Specialist looks good on Sacco's side. Sabertooth spec also quite strong. And actually goes for Quick Supply there. Still a pack with a very low hit point count. So we'll have to make this work early on. We'll have to make sure that he can get some tempo, because if he loses some rounds early on, he's going to be close to losing.
So Sacco Nearsighted is the quick supply specialist with sledges and crawlers. 3,800 hit points. I Like Napping has 5,300 hit points as the aerial specialist. Of course, the aerial specialist's hit points were buffed with the 0902 patch. And Napping, aware that Sacco likes to run some aggro, is going to put some vertical sledges in front of towers with 3 arc lights between, and presumably some chaff behind. For Sacco, using a whole bunch of the quick supply money to unlock and buy a Phoenix, and has the sledges right up on the line, so there's no protection for them this round, but he'll be able to drop triple crawler into those gaps, or even Fang potentially if that's what he'd rather. So.
And I really like this line from Sacco. He doesn't lose any deployments. He goes for an instant Phoenix, which is going to just be the best unit at this cost into a board of sledges and arc lights. So yeah.
Yeah, and note there is no upshoot, so Sacco will not lose any hit points on round 1, since the Phoenix are guaranteed to clean up. I mean, it is possible if there were enough surviving crawlers that he might take some damage from that, but there is not. It's not going to happen that way. So, Sacco making sure to win round 1 and really covering exactly what Rooster said, to make sure he got some early tempo, make sure he didn't get out-tempoed and put into hit point dodger early.
Now keep in mind that Napping is aerial specialist, so he can just buy 2 Phoenixes of his own here if he wants to.
As long as he doesn't...
Fire Badger shows up.
Yeah.
I was going to mention this, but Fire Badger Phoenix is, in my opinion, one of the strongest aggro comps.
It's an actual build, and it's legit. We've seen Blue Hair run it with the Fang, Fire Badger, and Phoenix, and the Fire Badger running Napalm and range. So the ranged Fangs don't walk into the Napalm until after it's burned out. But both players take the level 3, or the 3-pack of Marksman, even.
Recently see Assault Marksman clicked for Sacco.
Wow. All right, Sacco is cooking. Just a reminder of the stakes. This game could be the final. So Sacco not unwilling to roll the dice. Always been a fun player to watch.
I'm really curious about this. I would have just instantly picked the sabers here, I think. So there are definitely different lines to go for. But I wonder if he was just scared of building too many sledges and incentivizing something like a scorpion. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Has a shallow flank on the left. Again, trying to pull apart some of these units.
Right. Flank assault marksman really strong too.
Is arc carry viable at the moment?
I would say it's going to be viable at lower levels for sure.
Yeah.
It may not be viable.
Depends on the MMR range.
Yeah.
It also depends on your definition of arc carry. I think arc light is very viable currently in like a range 8 or like range E scenario, and a little bit less in a charge shot scenario. Round 3. Shield airdrop here could be really nice for Sacco. Deployment module also never a bad thing to pick up as an aggro player. That's actually what he does. Can enable a lot of annoying plays, especially on the flanks, utilizing the fact that if something is already spawned, you can move it on the same flank and it won't have to spawn in again.
I would love to see improved War Factory from I Like Napping, and that is exactly what he takes.
That's does pick it up.
Great answer.
Boy.
Brilliant.
Already going for EMP hackers this early on. Wow.
So
it
EMP
is
hacker
the
has always
strongest
been
counter.
Listed as one of the canonical answers to assault mode marksman, and the reason for that is assault mode gives you, plus 500% hit points. So these marksmen have 9,700 hit points, but the EMP turns off the tech, so they will go back to their 1,600 hit points. As soon as they have been hacked and switched teams, the EMP expires. Your EMP does not duration through to negate your own unit because it was applied by your team. So they'll be right back up to full in the assault mode. Of course, here it's basically just reducing the available hit points, and then his own marksman killed them, so he doesn't actually get to hack them. With the tower debuff, things are not going well, I would say, for I Like Napping on this round.
Yeah, solid flank by Sacco there, salvaging the round. This would have been a massive turn for Napping, if not for that 9-second debuff coming in. Round 4, smoke bomb picked up by Sacco.
He skipped the photon coating that would have made one of these immune to being turned off.
Yeah, but it tends to not be that impactful. Hackers, just on its own, even without the EMP, tend to be good enough.
Yeah, they do have
to hack these level 1 marksmen.
DPS. It's true.
And so generally the course of action in this type of scenario would be to make a beeline for something like Barrier Fortress.
Right.
Which has been made more expensive. And instead, Sacco going for the other hack that has been nerfed quite severely this patch. Going for loose formation on turn 4. Mind you, that costs 400, so that's a big investment to make. And Napping, going for some really early missiles here. And those will just delete the pack before it manages to spread out.
Yeah, great choice from Napping to do that. Also picked up a third hacker, presumably for this outside marksman. And Sacco's going to be very glad that one's now covered. His poor assault mode marksman is sitting there targeting the couple of hacked crawlers, so maybe it wasn't as great as it could have been.
Yeah. No arc light though on that left side. The hackers here are doing a fine job, and I think those missiles really did help out. And this is about the round you would have expected last turn, if not for that tower debuff.
Right. And it goes heavily to I Like Napping, dropping Sacco to just under 2,700 hit points. I Like Napping 1,000 more than that right now.
Yep.
Sacco skipping all these options. There's some great giant item options. I would expect Napping to also skip those if they're planning on committing to that War Factory answer long term.
Sacco going for the Overlords here instead. Where Napping picked up the Elite Mustangs last turn, I believe.
Right, does have Elite Mustang available.
And into the boats, that should be really good. But the thing is, they cost 400 apiece, and Mustangs really need range. Like,
yeah, they do.
It's night and day.
But he's got one of them on the near side flank, and he's got 500 left to buy the far side flank as well, if he wanted to protect against the Phoenix there. Right now he's got a missile.
We see that deployment module being put to good use.
Jumping those Phoenix over as though they're jump drive, and relying on the deployment module allows Sacco to not be running jump drive. He's got kind of what you think of as the aggro Phoenix techs: range, charged shot, and shield. Beats the missile with the crawlers, and he's going to get that flank again.
That the new badge near Sacco's name? Yes. So this is a weekend tournament badge that you see.
It is going to get replaced, I believe, because he's going to finish much better than 21st in this tournament.
And a very solid push here, really showcasing the power of that deployment module on aggro, punishing Napping's unwillingness to actually put a unit to defend the right flank.
Yeah.
And getting a debuff once again.
Yeah, Napping thought long and hard about putting an extra Mustang out there. But as you said, Mustangs really wanted range, so he took the range and did not deploy a Mustang out there. Both players take the level 5 Rhino.
And Sacco, perhaps expecting it, perhaps just clicking Chin Gun because it's good into stuff like sledges and hackers. Goes for a tech that should also help quite a bit with the opponent Rhino.
And of course, the Chin Gun is going to be especially valuable if there were barrier on the hackers from I Like Napping, which there is not yet. Napping does put a new pack of Mustangs out on that weak side, so has the Phoenix flank now covered. And we'll probably be able to take care of the crawlers as well. Napping, is this a great call on this missile or what? Look at that, just perfectly to pick up the Rhino on the corner. Knows Sacco's tendencies, also planning to missile out all of the front crawlers before they spread out.
And left side this time around looking much, much better for Napping.
Yeah, without the tower debuff, this left side has been in complete control for Napping. It's just been that tower debuff that has allowed him, Sacco, to win it. And that is a comprehensive round win. Jeepers. Sacco down to just under 600 hit points, Napping at 2,300, and Sacco on their last legs.
Oh boy. Speaking of last legs, here are some round-ending spells offered to both players. Sacco picking up the Lightning Storm. Napping has a choice either between Lightning or Electromagnetic Blast. And Sacco realizing it's going for that jump drive. Sells out of the Phoenix to be able to retrieve that deployment module and reposition his Rhino.
Yeah, nice. We'll put the whole group together and hope that this is not where the EMP is. Napping does not.
And now we see
actually take the EMP.
Does Napping expect it?
Took the storm.
Does he gamble?
Note that he can't missile out all the chaff the way that he did last round because he's spending 4 devices on shields. So he's only got 4 missiles.
And he does gamble correctly. Warp drive better than photon. To counter the spell? No, probably not. To try and get into a tower? Yes.
And the reason for that is that jump drive gives an additional 5 speed, which was letting these overlords move at a really great rate until they got hit by lightning, all 4 of them.
Yep.
Sigh. I mean, sigh for Sacco's perspective. Game-winning move for I Like Napping. Sacco makes it to what would be the semifinal or the final, depending on the outcome of Illuminati and Dzemp. I Like Napping wins this one and might be your Weekend Tournament Asia champion. We're going to step back to the lobby and find out. Nope, Dzemp and Illuminati are still going.
Still ongoing.
And perfect stereo. That was amazing. Dzemp in the lead. We'll jump into this match to find out if I Like Napping is your champion or if Dzemp will force a round 7.
Things looking quite good here for Dzemp. Having almost double the, well, having double the hit points of Illuminati. And it is a melting point game with Firestorm Collars and some ranged arc lights against Vulcan Marksman. Triple teched, just picked up quick reload, already donning the range enhancement and electromagnetic shot. And as a response to that, Dzemp is bringing out the very late wasps. They were already on the board previous to this, which is probably what has prompted this quick reload pickup by Illuminati. We see oil as well being a little bit far into the enemy board. Probably would have preferred seeing that being positioned a bit more forward, but this way it means Dzemp does manage to block most of it. We see Melters locking onto the Vulcans, but the whole board is on fire, so Marksman in return can lock onto the Melters. And with the EMP, they're turning off the range, they're turning off that crawler production, and the Wasps are just coming in too little too late.
Yeah, they arrived
the
too
Melters
late.
Pretty helpless, just sitting there like, what are you guys doing?
Right.
We needed you.
The Wasp mobile beacon just a little bit too long in terms of the timing.
Yep.
Is still going to win the round, but not as decisively as Dzemp would have wanted, I think.
Yeah, and with the current meta, EMP Marksman into Melter it definitely has become a much better matchup for the Marksman player compared to what it used to be. I think it was more Melter favored in the past, but after all the Melter nerfs and the buffs to things like Vulcan, the matchup has gotten more even.
Oh no. We're mobile beaconing into the nuke. Oh dear.
Oh no.
Oh,
Maybe they're too slow, you know?
No.
Maybe they're too slow.
No, I think they get there. It's 15 seconds into the round.
Gotta have a little bit of faith.
I have none. I have faith in bad luck. And both players obviously took the nuke and shielded against the nuke, so...
Better to beacon them onto the flank side and back. Yeah. Something you can also try is like make them beacon them and then end them in the middle of the board and then hope that both of them split up. That you have chaff for both sides.
Hadn't thought of that one, but yeah, if there's...
Kind of have to start in the middle as well.
Right.
Also, importantly, Dzemp doesn't run EMP on his melters. So that will not be something available to him.
Oh, you were right.
Wasps actually are slow enough.
Wasps are too slow.
Well, in this case, it's positive, so they're slow enough.
Yes. But both sides still had their shield up at the time that the nuke hit. So not as devastating as it could have been. And the round looks like it's going to end very similarly. Well, this time, Dzemp has a surviving giant for the 400 hit points on the bar, and about, I would say, 400, 300 or so in surviving storms. Drops Illuminati to 118 hit points, and Dzemp still solid on 3,000. Illuminati doing his best in the spoiler roll. Another nuke.
Go again. One nuke? No. 2 nukes and an ion beam.
I will point out, I love this part of the ethic from all of the top players. You see so many of the top players. You know, Illuminati not dropping out of the tournament, stays in, gives his best effort in the spoiler role, even if it's not enough, but just ensuring that Dzemp didn't get essentially a bye on the facing the spoiler. For example, Rooster last weekend was in the spoiler role for round 2. I know you must have been frustrated after a round 1 loss, but turned around and beat Apucci, so that Apucci hadn't had the free match on round 2 against somebody. And that was a spectacular performance on your part to put aside a previous round's defeat and then just turn it into this tremendous game. But it's part of the ethic, and I really appreciate that that is so much.
I think...
Go ahead.
I mean, it kind of depends for some players, I guess. Like, one loss, I'm still willing to play.
Right.
2 losses, that's...
Right. After 2, for sure, because there's no chance you'd wind up in the spoiler. There's no chance you wind up in the top 3. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But I just really appreciate how many of the top players... And I have actually seen people sit down, play the spoiler game, and that now their minor points are so low that they won't be in the spoiler role again. So they abandon at that point. Like, they win the spoiler game and then abandon. They're like, I wanted to abandon at the 1 loss, but I'm also not going to schlup my responsibilities as the spoiler.
Yeah, and that nuke with the ion beam means that the shields didn't survive, so the whole right side just got deleted.
Yeah, there's not even enough right side that there's fire on the ground. Or storms haven't had anything to shoot at. And that is Dzemp through to create a round 7 final between Dzemp and I Like Napping. Puts us through to our final, which will feature Dzemp against I Like Napping. Coming up in about a minute. I Like Napping's route to the final is through Hut, Cypher Shot, one of the 201 players, Green Spirit, Unrivalled Super Hottie, and Ensako. Dzemp came through Yakamaru, Felix, Seko, not Sako, AM Pack. We saw them beat Galaxy, and saw them beat Illuminati. So both players have some high-level wins on their way to the final. I Like Napping will be playing from blue. Dzemp will be playing from red. Welcome to the final of Weekend Tournament Asia number 70. I Like Napping up against the Weekend 67 champion, Dzemp.
And Napping picks up the Quick Supply Crawler, Stormcaller here. The packs for Dzemp, not necessarily that great. Ends up going for the Aerial Specialist with a Mustang Crawler start. Not the worst, going up into Stormcaller Crawler. Could have been a more painful start for sure if it was something like Sledges or Arc Lights.
So this God forbid the Sledge Arc start, right?
Yeah. Also, both players like benefiting and perhaps suffering on the side of Napping from the changes to the specialists. Crawler, Stormcaller again was nerfed, has less hit points now, so only 3,800 to start with, and Aerial Spec was buffed. Not only the patch before this did it get more attack and more HP on air units, it also received more starting hit points. So perhaps Dzemp will be able to leverage this if he does find himself in a situation where he loses the first couple rounds because of this starter. Double Arc-Light pickup, by the way, here for Napping. Makes complete sense. Is basically the only unit you can buy on round 1 that counters both Crawlers and Mustang.
Yeah, and as much as I did not like Arc Lights, even before the recent rate of fire buff and DPS buff for them, Alpha Titan was assuring me that you really do need to pick up the double Arc Light into that particular starting comp. Otherwise, you're giving away so much tempo. And it did make a big improvement in my MMR when I started doing that.
Oh, yes. Napping picking one of my favorite cards. Let's go. Improved Wasp shows up and is picked up. This card is so good that you can practically just buy Wasps into Mustang. Now, I don't even know if he's planning to play them. He might just be purchasing them in case, like, well, they might show up in a drop, and he doesn't want that to happen, or he might want them in case Dzemp opts to go for Wasp, and well, then at least Napping can go for his own response later on with something like range AA Wasps of his own.
Of course, the reason that card is so powerful is the 20-meter range, and as we know, when a improved card is held by either player, that unit can no longer show up as a drop.
And both players here adding some chaff. Dzemp also opting in for a pack of Stormcallers. By the way, put his Mustangs all on the same side. This is something that we have seen before. Trying to overpower one side of the board, because if you were to split your Mustangs, you would be sure to lose. And Dzemp, by the way, picked up the extended range Vulcan, so not interested in going for improved Wasp.
Farseer available. Dzemp takes the free level 2 marksman. This is one of the things he did in the early rounds of the Dev Pro tournament. And as I said there, he committed to it, basically buying more of them, buying range, and then elite recruiting 3 more of them, so that he wound up with 8 ranged level 2 marksmen by round 5. So it was a very powerful play.
This looks like another Vulcan marksman against perhaps Stormcaller marksman Arclight on the side of Napping. Dzemp with that extended range Vulcan pickup and the marksman pickup, making it pretty clear what he wants to do. Napping also doing something very similar, buying 3 Stormcallers here on round 3 for a grand total of 5.
So napping will be vulnerable to anti-missile at some point. Dzemp has missile interceptor available on those Mustangs if he wants it. Of course, that would reduce their DPS overall, but once he's got the Vulcans out, he's going to be willing to give up that DPS to protect the Vulcans, I would expect.
Dzemp managing to make this pretty close still. In fact, even winning the round, it looks like.
That's pretty critical
by one
from
Stormcaller,
a tempo
but
perspective.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
3750 for napping, 3930 for Dzemp. We go to round 4. Of course, unit drop is not possible. You only get 1 unit drop per 2, 3, 4. Only get 1 unit drop in 5, 6, 7, and they're guaranteed not to come back to back. Dzemp skips.
Deciding to skip here.
Might have like...
It would be possible to pick one of the expensive spells here. It's possible. Picking it here, I believe, means that it's back on round 9.
Yep.
Which is possible for a standard game. So you might be able to get double value out of it, but it is expensive here. And napping, thinking about it, does decide to go for that.
Dzemp really cleverly playing around that by selling one of the Mustangs on that side. So he noted how overloaded he is on the one side. Figures that's where the storm would be if it is taken. Doesn't shield up, but minimized some of the damage.
Yeah, really, really nice play. Even purchasing that new Stormcaller, aside from the extended range Vulcan, and putting those on the other side, effectively overloading his weak side all of a sudden.
Right. Switching which side was strong to, and minimizing the damage of the lightning storm.
Now, obviously, right side still does get completely, utterly deleted from the map.
You're just saying that because there's nothing but grass over there.
Well, there used to be more than just grass.
Oh, right. Grass not the best defense for a tower, and of course, I like napping is going to capitalize to win the round really heavily. That's 1,000 points of damage in surviving Stormcallers, plus the other units. That'll drop Dzemp to 2420. And now we get a unit drop. Napping picks up a pair of Farseers, and Dzemp takes the level 5 Saber, sells it for the cash value.
I mean, it was made stronger, but it still does have the nickname of Saber Cash for a good reason. Napping perhaps not.
Go ahead, took 2 arc lights with the range enhancement, so trying to clear chaff this round without the storm.
Well, and the storm as well. Fire has been picked up too.
Right, fire on the storms, range on the arc lights. Just kind of counting on those.
It's all hands on deck. Comes to chaff clearing for napping this turn.
And an oil. So really trying to go for some tempo play. Really wants to knock Dzemp out before this build has time to scale into a title-winning build for Dzemp.
I mean, this is some brutal gameplay right there. Stormcallers burning, chaff burning, 2 marksmen, then to the fire as well. It only leaves the Vulcan and, well, it's not doing too well into all of these storms. And this is going to be close to lethal.
Yeesh. Dzemp going to be down on 316 hit points, napping at 3750. Dzemp has got to stabilize this round or it is over. Obviously takes the incendiary bomb. You could have been tempted for advanced shield device because you know you're going to have to shield a whole bunch from here. But
yep.
Napping also took Incendiary. And both players dropping the Incendiary in the back line.
Great minds, huh?
And here are those improved wasps. Dropping the fire to cover... So the wasps will pull these fangs into the fire. The fangs will die. There will be one marksman handling 2 packs of improved wasps. Yeesh.
And Dzemp going for wasps of his own, but unfortunately they're on the wrong side of the board.
They are weaker. They are on the wrong side of the board. Yeah.
And I was going to say, win or lose, this would be one of those rounds that you would... There definitely are ways to kill your opponent here. And, well, let's see if Napping's gut shot has what it takes. Wasps do get stuck on the tower for a bit, but they manage to break it. Get the tower. And
the tower
that will likely be all she wrote.
All collapses for Dzemp, so Dzemp comes super close to winning a second title. Actually, has he done enough to buy another round here? I think the Stormcaller lighting Napping Storms on fire buys Dzemp
-4.
He needed to kill one more wasp
light
to buy another round.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I Like Napping wins Weekend Tournament Asia number 70. What are you seeing on this board? And what do you think was the key play of that game? Obviously, the gut shot worked, but...
I mean, buying this many early storms tend to have this type of effect. I was kind of surprised that the round that he bought them, turn 3, Dzemp actually managed to take a win, which I think was mostly due to the fact that Napping couldn't chaff clear as well. And then after that, it was just picking up that early storm, getting that debuff on the right side, just having everything survive. Especially these Stormcallers, rather safe, right? Because they have 180 base range. So them dealing 200 when they survive, having 5 of them, that's already 1,000 damage. And then just spell after spell, using the improved Wasp there as a nice gut shot, realizing that Dzemp has a lot of problems that he needs to deal with. There is the threat of improved Wasp, but there's also the fact that he needs to distract these Stormcallers. And yeah, manages to close it out just about. That being said, like, -4, if Dzemp survives here, he probably has a chance. The storm would be coming back at some point, but yeah. Dzemp says very hard to play when there are 0 playable starts. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very rough start. We did note that for sure.
It is, yeah, a bit rough. True.
Yep. Tournament is over. Congratulations to I Like Napping, your tournament champion. Dzemp runner-up. Galaxy third. Congratulations, you three. Very well played. Looks like Red Sunset fourth, with Unrivaled Super Hottie fifth. Sacco, not to be confused with Sacco. Green Spirit. Fake Person, Energy, and Eva Stigma rounding out the top 10. We will put on the 11th through 20th on my channel, just to let folks get their name in lights. If that's your best performance, congratulations. And GG's, everybody. Well done. Rooster,
yeah,
it has been a real honor getting to co-cast this with you. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for being here and getting up this early.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a real pleasure working with you, and as I said privately in our Discord conversation, I really appreciate everything that you've done for the community, for the game. You've been just a tremendous part of the community, and we're really, really appreciative of everything you've done.
And Amaroq, thank you so much for the raid.
You are welcome. And real quick shout out, thank you so much to the mods on both channels for everything you guys have done to support us. I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much.